give me your thoughts
Sure,
on.
maybe it'll get better.
President Trump, of course, said that
Yeah.
he plans to have the U.S. run the country. What do you think about that idea, especially in light of, within the last hour, the interim leader of Venezuela pushing back and being critical of the actions that the U.S. took?
You know, we know from our recent history that these wars are much easier to get in than to get out of. This war for oil, totally unauthorized by the Congress, is one that will cost America dearly in terms of billions of dollars, and I hope not too many lives lost. The president will not stand up to the real security threats from Russia and China. They're too strong for him. But he picks on a weak country at a time that his focus should be on running America, not on running another war for oil.
Congressman, did you receive any kind of briefing, you and your colleagues, before the attack or since the attack? And if so, what can you share from those briefings?
Absolutely none. And with this Republican control of Congress, he doesn't feel he needs to provide any briefings to Congress. He's acting as a one-man authoritarian ruler, directing these tariffs where we're raising costs and directing now a war that is totally unnecessary. He made it clear in his press conference, this has little to do with any war on drugs. After all, he freed the cocaine king from Honduras recently from prison. But it has a lot to do with a war for oil and taking over Venezuelan oil, selling it, as he said, elsewhere. But this will not come easy, and it will be very costly at a time that he is distracting from the real challenges that American families face.
What do you think this looks like in the long run, just given the situation in Venezuela? How long do you think this could go? What does this look like with the U.S. being there? Just kind of game plan out what this could look like over the next few weeks or even months.
Sure, he's given us no plan, no end game that he has in mind. This is the very kind of conflict that less than a year ago in his inaugural, he said, measure my success by the wars we don't get into. And yet he's talking about conflict with Nigeria, now with Venezuela. He has teamed up with a authoritarian drug-related dictatorship down in El Salvador. I can see this taking the lives of Americans as they move into Venezuela that does not welcome them. I'm delighted to see the government go with Maduro, but you have to have a plan for how this is handled, or you waste lives and you waste taxpayer dollars. And that's what I'm concerned about here, that this should have been approached in an entirely different way rather than in a lawful action by one man, unrestrained by a Republican Congress.
And that feeds into my next question. Do you believe that this action was legal?
It was absolutely illegal. This president has had weeks, in fact, probably months, to make his case to the American people and to make it to the Congress and seek approval through a resolution for this action. So anything that goes wrong in Venezuela, and there is a potential for much to go wrong in coming months, will be entirely on President Trump's shoulders. He chooses this course because he's had so many failures in America that he wants our focus elsewhere. I think more and more Americans are realizing that they've been deceived, and today's action is giant deception.
How do you see this playing out for the Venezuelan people still in that country?
Well, I'm sure it's a situation of chaos with probably little effective law enforcement. You can only imagine the struggle that families that are just trying to put food on the table and survive down there without being the subject of violence are feeling. The Maduro regime was terrible, but this was not the way to take it out. The president also declared that the Nobel Prize winner that America has been saying, and I think rightfully so, won the last election, that they don't think she's strong enough to run things. They'd rather have Pete Hegseth, our incompetent defense secretary, doing it. And I think that's a formula for a disaster for America and for Venezuelan families.
And I wanted to ask you about the opposition party. In Venezuela, do you see them having a place now in the future of this country?
Well, they've gone through an immense struggle here, and as indicated, the opposition president, who I believe won the last election, just won a Nobel Prize, the type President Trump says he wants, and yet they say now that she is not able to run the government of Venezuela. it certainly would appear that the idea here is for Trump to put in his own functionaries in order to provide as much oil as possible to the United States for whatever purpose Trump and his regime allies may see as a way to make a profit.
A couple more for you, Congressman. How do you see today's action impacting relationships with other countries in Central and South America?
Well, it becomes clear that this is not an America first policy, it's an America alone policy. This interference with other small, weaker countries, instead of standing up to the real security threats from China, from Russia, that does not serve our families and our security very well. I think it's signaling to the entire world, to those that are authoritarian figures like Trump, go ahead and take on any weak, small country that you like. That's the American example rather than America that is leading on peace and on human rights.
And Congressman, what are the next steps for Congress after this morning's events?
Well, I expect we will have a number of resolutions up next week, a war powers resolution, others questioning him, and I expect that the Republican majority will block every one of them. We will have some briefings that are supposedly classified secret information that will provide only the same kind of lies that we've heard in public. So I think the key here is engagement of the American people. We need more and more people that are out there demanding change from this administration, which will come through a change in the leadership of the House of Representatives that can provide a real check and subpoena officials from this government and demand that we have a government that's a democracy that's not moving steadily toward an autocracy.
And then finally, Congressman, has the party, the Democratic Party, given you any idea of their broader plans to respond to what happened today?
You know, I've not visited with Democratic leadership. I've seen statements from some of my colleagues who seem to pretty universally share my view that Trump should be focused on America, not on starting a war for oil. That has not been very successful for us in the past, and without laying out any plan for how he plans to accomplish this and assure some stability in Venezuela rather than having thousands more immigrants wanting to come here, I think we face big problems.
Congressman, anything else you want to add on top of what we discussed?
I think I'll add only this in talking about the problems that he needs to be dealing with here in Congress. This next week, we have an opportunity once again to vote in the House on the health care tax credits that are so critical for some families being able to access a family physician here in the middle of their own health care crisis. In 3 weeks, the government is about to run out of money. Once again, we could face a government shutdown. Those are the kind of priorities that we need his attention on rather than this distraction for how much he can help his allies to the regime in Venezuela.
I guess one more for me. What do you think about the charges against Maduro, the drug charges? Do you think there's legitimacy to them? Do you think he should be facing these charges?
Oh, I expect that there may well be a case to be made against him. I have no love for Maduro. I think he's terrible. But there's a different way you approach these issues than the way the Trump administration has done. I think the drug war has been a pretense for a war for oil, which Trump made clearer in his press conference. And I think if that were not the case, this president would not have pardoned the cocaine king from Honduras, which he did, letting him get out of prison, and his pardons of others who've committed drug offenses.
All right, Congressman Lloyd Doggett, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you. I appreciate it.